There's something about American men that if you even criticize them this much, as if their fathers, and I don't know if this is all men, do you think men in general, if they get any kind of criticism or hate from their father, they take it super sensitively?
From their father?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so.
Yeah, what is it about, because every time I have a client that says, I cut my dad off when I was 14, I'll say, what happened? He's like, well, I was mopping the floor left to right, and he said, no, you have to do right to left, and he's just so controlling. I'm like, is that a reason to cut? But then I realized it's the brainwashing with the mother.
It's the cultural piece.
It's the cultural thing where any kind of criticism is just like not accepted at all. Is that a common thing amongst men?
It's interesting because I've interviewed some older men on my show, and one of them is super famous. He's in his 80s, and he's a high performance coach with the Castle in Scotland, and we dress very similar. And he used to say that like his dad once in his whole life said, "I love you, son." And that basically his whole life was spent trying to be good enough for his dad. Okay, these are the old school relationships that maybe happened in the 40s and 50s
generation,
and 60s. And like, and he hit him. Okay, and I think you made some comments about that. We should get into that too. And so, look, on one hand, you say that and say, okay, does it have to be that way? But you can also see it does create young men with boundaries and aspirations. Now, I can't imagine not telling my boys that I love them, because I do love them.
I love my
but at the same time, I want to raise men and strong men, and certain behavior is not okay with me. But like, I can kind of see how that old school way of raising kids, which probably happened for the last few hundred years, of super stern, of no one's going to tell me how to raise my kids, whereas these days everyone's going to tell you. The schools are going to tell you. The governments. I can see how that has benefits.
Yeah, it has huge benefits, because remember, teachers even used to hit kids back then.
I know. Nuns and all that stuff.
They used to hit. So it wasn't just like your evil dad. It'd be everybody. It was a culture. I mean, I don't actually agree with hitting kids, only because I prefer parenting where your consequences are enough, where they don't need hitting. And I also think they're baby. I don't know. For me, I find it hard, the idea of hitting.
Did you make a video recently about hitting your kids?
I don't think I have yet, should I?
Yeah, maybe you should.
I should. I personally don't think you need to, but I'm not the type, because I got hit as a child, to think hitting means abuse. Yeah. At the same time, I don't think a hit means abuse. I just don't think you should. I don't think you need to. But it doesn't constitute as abuse, because sometimes that's the only discipline they knew back then. And I just think that what's happened is men were always designed, evolutionary-wise, to just get the food for the kids. That's it. Food and shelter. They weren't actually kissing, hugging, nurturing, or anything. This is a new phenomenon. So some men they're not used to it. They're not actually programmed for this. This wasn't their tools for survival. So what's happened with a lot of men in this generation is they expect their fathers to just be a male version of a mother. They just expect to be raised by lesbians, two women basically. They want their father to be just as affectionate as their mum was, just as unconditional as their mum was, just as everything their mum was, they want their father. They don't realize that the structure that the father brings is through his kind of slightly more more conditional standards, high standards, more discipline. That's how you get the best out of children. But they just want two mums nowadays. And that's why I think it's dangerous for men to have this mentality that fathers should act like mothers.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying with most of that.
What the London Real Investment Club actually does for you, it gives you the keys to open that door to the inside deals. In the last 3 weeks, I've participated in 3 incredible deals: a layer 2 Bitcoin protocol, an incredible AI protocol. The deal flow is beyond what I expected. I don't think I've ever seen a model like this that just gives average folks the opportunity to be behind the deals, and that's exactly what we've done. Not only that, you get to hang out with Brian Rose every week. And for me, that was huge, because I look at Brian as somebody who's not only an expert in the space, and I think is on the leading edge, but just the leading edge of thought with London Real and the work he's doing there. To anyone who's taking a serious look at this, I know it's a big decision. It was a big decision for me and my family, and it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I wish you all the best, and hope you come join us.
One of my mentors says, spare the rod, spoil the child. He's a big fan of that. I agree with you. I don't think you need to hit kids. And also, I think in a weird way, it shows that you have less power. It just like if you swear, whenever you see someone swearing when they're yelling, they use it because they don't have enough power with their normal words. So it's actually a tell that they don't have the power. They don't have the power because you're not respecting them. So I agree. I think you don't need to do that if you're doing everything else right. But that means you got to have your own game set up so they respect you.
And consequences to actions.
And consequences. And then they're looking at you thinking, I don't respect Dad because look at him. he's a slob, he's a mess, and he doesn't even respect his own discipline. Why should I respect his?
And does sometimes, as a father, does it get undermined by mothers, or like the other way around? Can fathers undermine mothers? Because I think that's the key. Having wives who understand that the version of love fathers give is different to theirs. It doesn't all have to be exactly the same, as long as the child still gets the boundaries he needs. But a lot of women can sometimes undermine the father's version of love by saying it's toxic or saying it's abusive, when really it's just masculine. But
I think it's hard these days because the whole wave of probably a lot of the American-based woke culture is permeating everyone. And so I think now the mothers are a bit quicker to say, oh, that way of father parenting isn't right, and we need to unconditionally love, we need to do all that. Whereas I try to step back, and when the mother isn't saying what I think is necessary, I try to think, okay, that's feminine energy. They need some of that. And then this is my masculine energy, and I'm going to give them a dose of that. Now, of course, since I'm in my own reality, I can't see my flaws. But I would say that sometimes...
But your kids are great.
Sometimes my way, mom is not agree with my way. And my way is the cold reality of life. Now, I have a stepdaughter. She's amazing. She's 20 years old. But I've been telling her for 10 years, when you're 18, I'm throwing you out of the goddamn house. That's it. I don't care. You're not coming back, so you better get your shit together. I've also told her even recently, nobody cares. You've been taught all your life that someone out there that cares or is going to take care of you. I said, nobody cares about you. And unless you get your shit together, you're not going to be able to function in this world. Now, that's my harsh way of maybe trying to prepare her. But I would say mom isn't always a fan of the way I do that. But I know it's right.
They need you. It's 100%. My mum's threat to us was like, "I'll tell your dad," or "Wait till your dad finds out." And if you don't have that as a child, it would be, because I remember always thinking when my dad would go home back to Pakistan for like a month or something like that, just to see family, I'm like, yes, we can finally laugh and be happy and get away with murder, because mums are softer. As soon as dad would come back, the discipline would come back. And I just remember thinking, if I was just raising mum, I would be a completely different woman. You need that somewhat fear factor, because it leads to you understand where you stop. You need fear of teachers. You need fear of police officers. You need fear of the government. You need some fear. Otherwise, it turns into anarchy. And the same thing happens in the home. This kind of like fear is the wrong emotion. No, children need some fear. Otherwise, they'll do silly things. They're babies. They're supposed to be learning.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith, because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.